Yeah, this is Academy of Tone 113.
113. Good evening and welcome everybody.
Okay, this was some AC/DC freestyle. I like the riff, but I can't remember the parts. But this is how it is. And anyway, I mean, we are talking about outdoor festivals today, which can be surprisingly different from what you know when you go on a regular stage.
They can be.
There's a bunch of things that can happen that you have no control over or you would not expect. And this is, stuff that we want to talk about tonight. If you do have any stories, I'm sure some of you guys have some. You can write those here in the comments. I have some stories. What's going on in the chat, by the way? I see rock and roll, Tele presentation. Huh? My guitar is... the Tele is behind me. Yeah, this is next week.
Did you maybe teaser it last week that you would be doing it this week and then we had to change the episode?
See, that's the point. Just to get you the info here, this is my new baby. It's a 1967 kind of Olympic white Telecaster. And I have a friend from the Saarland, Uwe Jolly. He has kind of the equivalent to this. I think a 66 or maybe even 67, a guitar that is very close, that he owns for a lot of years. And so he's coming next week and we will do the Teletubbies in this studio. And we probably get a real blackguard as well. So next Wednesday is Taylor Tuesday.
Yeah, so we had to push an episode in here this week just to fill the time pretty much. And we were talking about what's going on. And of course, the Glastonbury Festival just took place last weekend, which is definitely the biggest and most famous UK festival.
Yeah.
What would be the German equivalent of something like Glastonbury?
Well, there's Wacken, but Wacken is more metal. Man, I'm a bit out of this scene. I used to play out in the green in a bit of Switzerland. There is some stuff in the Munich area, but I'm out of that business for too long. If you know it, put it in the comments. My brain is actually somewhere else at the moment a little bit more, but that's all good for you guys. You will find out.
Tell the guys just a little bit about this guitar, because Helmut noticed it. The LP with the mini humbuckers. What have we got here?
It's, I guess, a 71, and it has been refretted recently, which I like a lot with my 6105 frets, and I think it's a pretty good Les Paul. I'm somehow stuck with gold tops. Gold tops. I like gold tops. Yeah, well, look at the picture. What can I say? I like gold tops.
Are these both original gold tops?
Yeah. So this is original 71 and this is supposed to be 68 or something. Somebody has to tell me whether this thing is 68 or 69, and it's a converted... it used to have mini humbuckers like this one. And... this is what we have here. And I was using the Storm pedal, which is the Solo Dada's kind of circuitry that is part of Angus Young's wireless system. And for some reason it's a bit noisy. Can you hear that today? But it gives me that nice and excellent... It is actually not clipping itself. It's just like boost driving my amp 1 harder. And I use the clean channel on full with the boost of the amp 1 in the clean channel, like a cranked Marshall. Yeah, this is the concept. And then having this Storm pedal in front boosts it a little more over the top. And this is where we live in the AC/DC world. It's always important to have that kind of clean could be a killer blues tone as well. So actually, a good tone is a good tone, and you can do a lot of different music styles with it once it has all these facets. And yeah, I could easily play on his rig my music. Unbelievable. It's just the classic good tone.
Even with an SG.
Yeah, I would miss my Strato Whammy bar, and the pots would be somewhere else. But okay, hey, this is the tone would inspire me. I like that AC/DC tone a lot because it has so many different textures and so many different colors from clean to overdrive. Of course, they beat the guitars a lot and they dig in hard to have that rock attitude, but if you play lightly, it's totally clean. And that's the old school. It's simply perfect old school.
Yeah. Have you ever seen AC/DC live?
No, only on video. I mean, I like it's a typical thing on when you go to party. This was before your time when Rüdiger Force, had his birthdays in the garden with the hidden schnapps and everything, and AC/DC at the Need. It's only insider for Saarlanders, and even the Saarlanders don't get it. But this was, when you put out a TV screen and have some music in the garden and have some nice drinks and do the barbecue and stuff, which we actually will do without the AC/DC in the garden in maybe 2 weeks if the weather is nice.
Yeah.
That was a plan that we had, the live stream from the garden. Yeah. So stay tuned for that with the whole team.
It's going to be interesting. Will Julian be taking part, or will he be locked away in the engineering dungeon to finish Ampex?
We will see how far we get. Maybe you can tell that I'm a bit tired too. So we worked long last night, like 1:30 in the morning, and this is all finishing Ampex stuff, and it needs to be done now. And this is what we are doing. We take no prisoners. We we work full on. But I guess he's always good for something to eat. So I guess he will join in. Then we have the full team.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah, so next week probably, if you were expecting the Telecaster stuff, that's going to be next week, and then possibly
the week after,
weather permitting, the week after, we will have some kind of outdoor Academy of Tone.
Yeah. Same in my building or my house or in my garden. Right? So it's all, kind of here. So we can grab some acoustic guitars maybe, or let's see what we do. I haven't done all the plans yet. Okay, but honestly, back to the topic of the outdoor festivals. When you play indoors, let's start with indoors, or when you play your rehearsal with your band, there's always walls. And these walls reflect the sound. And that brings kind of a fullness with it. So even if there is, like a small speaker, if there's some reflection coming from the walls, the sound will be full. Small club venues, even like medium halls and stuff like this, where there are walls, there is more sound available. In the open air, and that's the outdoor thing, they have maybe a tent. The tent can be horrible because it reflects a lot of high end, and then the walls are not really closed. There's no concrete walls or anything that really reflects low frequency, or sometimes it's even open, and they have something, what is it, like a curtain for the light only, but it's still, it's basically open air. So, and what happens in this situation is like your molecules that have been moved by your guitar speaker. Guitar speaker makes a lot of energy and compressing the air molecules, and this spreads out, but then the whole sound disappears. if you have never played outside, it's shocking. It's like, oh, where's my guitar? It feels like I have a different instrument. It's you switch from electric guitar to acoustic guitar. It is a different situation, and it's a totally different feel. So in order to compensate that, I have a few advices or tips. The first thing is the band should set up the gear kind of more compact together. So the drums maybe in the middle, and then put the bass amp, the guitar amp, the basic stuff of the band kind of close together. So you always have the chance to walk around on stage a little bit and be close to your speaker still and close to the drums. So you can make your own monitor mix by wandering around on stage. And if you go too far out, you will not hear anything. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest mistake some people do, is like, oh, we have a big stage. I'm going in this corner. Okay, and hello, my friend. On the total opposite side, there is somebody else with a little combo amp. I mean, if you have full stacks moving the air molecules from both sides, I mean, you can even fill like a huge outdoor stage. But, most people don't have those speaker walls anymore, which I found not necessary once you understand that there are alternative things. So one thing is setting up the whole thing a little bit closer together. I have a picture where you can see my little cabinet, which is the Fat Cab 1x12 cabinet, and I face this inwards to the stage. So, this is a typical situation. My 3-piece band with Markus Kuhlmann, for the Germans. He is touring a lot, playing a lot of gigs, a loud drummer, Bonzo style, Led Zeppelin, and it's pretty compact. Of course, this stage was not too big, but this is how I face the guitar speaker inwards, and I'm always talking to my colleagues. Do they hear my cabinet? Of course, there is the option of having monitors, but if you rely on the monitors, there's 50-50 chance you get some signal that you don't like. So if you have your amp, you know what you're getting, and then you can have at least one parameter more or less fixed.
Yeah. So you trust that over in-ear monitors as well, or is that something you haven't done too many festivals with?
I have done in-ears, yes, but I like in-ears with a proper production, where the production, which means the band and the technicians, do rehearsals together. Because if you have in-ear, there is no chance, because the mix is what you're getting. Of course, modern in-ear systems, maybe you have your own monitor mixer, so you can react and give yourself more vocals or less vocals and more kick drum, whatever you need to feel good and hear what you want to hear. But if you go like on an outdoor festival and you have in-ears, then you come with this is my in-ear box, and can you connect it? And I need my monitor. And he says, okay, I already had 4, 5, 6 monitor ways here. And then this guy wants in-ear. Okay, I have more. There's my digital. But, when it depending on the technician and how many other bands they are playing, it's getting pretty complex. And this is where the risk of fuck-up starts. So my lesson is less is more in that kind of situation. Saying when you do outdoor festivals with changeover, sometimes even only line checks. It's like many bands come on stage and there's there's no proper sound check and all. It's boring for the audience. If people are at a festival, they want to party, and then a new band comes on, and then boom, 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 oof, click, for half an hour, and then check 1 2 1 2 1 2 2 1 1 2 3 1 2 Pommes mit Pommes frites. Okay, maybe it's funny and entertaining, but no, actually not. What's cool at the changeover of a festival, when you know exactly your gear is working and you have something maybe like a good direct tone, like a blue box or torpedo, or your direct tone is killer. So you are sure that the guy on the PA gets a signal that if it's not treated, just some volume, if that's spot on, this is a good thing, because the guy on the front of house on the mixing console decides about how loud to put the guitar, also depending on how easy and how good the sound is. So if the sound is shit, the mic is like and muffle or whatever, then, or too shrill. What can I do with the guitar? Because he has like 10 bands at the same night, and then he's more concerned about having nice bass drum and whatever. The vocal, the guy has a problem with monitor, and maybe there isn't a monitor mixer, or there's no monitor mixer, and then the technician has to do 5-6 jobs at once, taking care of the drummer gives signs, the singer has a problem, everybody has problems. So if you are able to reduce anything that makes these guys the life harder, do it. It pays off. Mm-hmm. He will love you. It's that simple. I mean, when I played my tic-tac-toe, I have the big picture there, with 120,000 people. These were the days where I had mics built into my cabinets and brought my own tube mic preamp. So all they had to do is give it some level, and the guitar was there, even at the first beats. The only thing you do at a sound check like that is like, and the guitar, the guy goes, nice. Is this your loudest tone? Yes, because this is what he needs for leveling that source, the guitar. And then he goes for the next one. So, and that's it. And then maybe the whole band plays 3 chords, doom, 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 done. So, and there's your show. Or you even sneak into the show and make something. When you're a bit experienced, you can do stuff that that the engineer can work on while you introduce the band and talk to the audience.
When you were doing the tour with Tic Tac Toe, did you have FOH sound engineers attached to the band who were going around with you from venue to venue?
Yes.
Because that's something you would normally, at regional festivals, you would not have the luxury of that.
No. I mean, back in those days, I had my own guitar technician coming to my living room, and I was not even allowed to touch my gear and set it up. This was not my job. Somebody had a job to do that. And they even put on new strings and put the guitar in tune. So the only thing you had to do is play the show and check the sound. But they did all the setup. And here is how the whole thing starts, because let me show you this one. This is something a proper technician would do if he has to play a tour kind of with you. They would mark the in and outs with like colors, and then have the same kind of tape on the cables. So even in the darkest night, you will find the pink for this socket here, or the yellow for the guitar. So that's something, when you have like a not complete pedal board, this helps. And same here with marking settings. Maybe the camera can show. So somebody played this on 6/7 master 777 and no reverb. Well, I can tell you this one belongs to Jennifer Batten, and she doesn't need reverb because she plays funk with no reverb. And sometimes uses other devices or Helixes or whatnot, or Digitech products to get the effects from.
And do you know what Jennifer takes on the road with her? Is it literally just the amp one, and she plugs that into whatever
cabinet
backline is there, or cabinet?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes she has our cabinets as well, depending on the country. But she's wrote me an email from like South America recently, and well, sometimes there is no BluGuitar cabinet, so she plugs into whatever is available, and it can be good stuff and can be really bad stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's the other lesson you have to learn is when you go to a festival and there is the festival amp or cabinet, it's a surprise thing.
Yeah, we have a comment from Robert Price who says he's playing an outdoor festival in a week and a half, and he hopes the backline amp is good. And that is one major uncertainty of gigs like this, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if they do a good job, they put classic amps up there, Fender Twins and whatever, GCM 800. But I have been at situations like that myself. Before I had this kind of easy carry stuff, I brought my overdrive pedal with me, my Strat, and I was having a fly gig to whatever, Hamburg, plugged into whatever was there. But even if there is like a proper Marshall that I'm very familiar with, you know how many Marshalls there are and how they vary. And then you don't know the conditions they are in. Maybe it's the greatest amp, but somebody on the festival forgot to plug in the speaker and something is broken. Maybe the transformer, the output transformer is half right. I had that. Very weird things. Or, I mean, in a festival, things can be hectic. Somebody plugs in, is nervous, wants to play the gig, and then cranks the amp and no sound, and then, this was the end of this backline amplifier. I had, maybe you remember, I do remember, like last year, I had a Mesa Boogie rectifier, a dual rectifier here from a backline rental, and the amp was broken. And I mean, I've seen this a couple of times. I'm not saying that Mesa Boogie makes bad amplifiers, but the amp was probably broken because somebody switched it on with no cabinet. Mm-hmm. And then somebody played serious metal, no sound, and then something was broken. And or like one tube is broken because, the good old tubes, and then they travel, they come in cases maybe, but somebody drops the case, the guys lugging around the cabinets, they are not amp lovers, they're lugging around boxes. So back in the truck, or there's like pebbles, or what's the stone kind of thing. That's with the wheels. Hey, do this to tubes, especially when they're hot. That not only the bias changes. So therefore, we have a lot of customers using our amps coming from touring internationally, professionally, and having this personally in the hand luggage. Mm-hmm. Like Ian Crichton from Saga, he always has an amp on stage. It's the festival Marshall or whatever, but he always uses that amp because he even stopped trying out the other amp because it's like, why? The sound is there, the other thing looks like saga looked always. So it's kind of, and if there's no amp, it's not a problem. But most of the time there is an amp, so there's a guitar and an amplifier. But this thing sits on top, and this is being used. You can see it even on their live DVD. Yeah, and so, back to the marking. Yeah, and even the side controls are marked. That's one thing you can do if you have other people taking care of your gear. This is where that thing starts more than when you do it yourself. I mean, I don't need it because I know my product and I know my settings.
What would be your recommendation for people going to a festival in terms of the minimum amount of equipment that they should take with them to be covered, whatever happens?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when you look at a proper tour rider, the list of who brings what and who is responsible for what, the so-called backline usually comes from the band. And I mean, the exception is kind of the tour drums and the M. So with the drums, I'm a big fan if the drummer can share, or the drummers of the evening can share one drum kit, because it's usually a nightmare when a full kit with whatever 16 microphones has to be changed. Super professional guys, they have so many channels. They have a riser with the whole thing set up, and the guy just flips on his board because there was a sound check in the morning for one band and the other band, and so it's just by total recall. The riser rolls in, the mics are still in place because they are professionally placed and being sound checked, and the mixing console has the settings of the soundtrack, and that works. But on the lower level, when somebody brings his own drum kit, and then it's like, everything has to change, and the mics have to different drums is different volumes, different players have different volume already. But if different players play with one drum kit, it's reduced parameters again, and that makes the sound guy his job a lot easier. And I find it totally understandable that the drummers bring their own machine for the kick drum.
Yeah.
And what's important for their personal tone, like the snare drum.
Yeah, that was the thing in my day. It was always kick drum pedal, snare, and cymbals maybe.
Yeah.
And they shared the shell of the kit.
Yeah. So, and if they all are right-handed, it's not a problem. The other way around, this is things like that. Phil Collins, for instance, there's a bit extra work for that. When we come to like the bass amp, I like it if you're not marking and you have to have your signature tone. If there is a decent classic bass amp, you can live with that very easily. And that's the good thing on the festivals. When it's halfway professional, they bring a decent bass amp with tons of headroom, which is needed, because you probably have a smaller bass amp that is good enough to fill a club. But being on open, this is where the good old Ampeg SVT stacks come from, 8x10. It moves some air. Good. And so, on the other hand, like when I play with my Rock Anarchy, Gully, our singer and bass player, he can play the bass amp or his own, what is it, TC Electronics cheapo combo, and it sounds killer. Then we just put it closer to the drums and have a cozy thing, but I can hear him even with this amp that he always plays, so it works. I do my thing with the fat cap, and if the stage is really wide and big and I want to move, that's the point. If I want to move around forever for a show or whatnot, I sometimes bring a second cabinet, like smallest one, nano cab, nice. I have the fat cab close to the drums, like that's the normal zone, and then I have the nano cab somewhere, maybe on the corner. So when I can go, then I can go all the way to some corner or other direction and be there, hear myself, and even in the field that is covered with my two speakers. Some people play 2x12s, but they are more directional. Fair enough. There's the D-Flex from Hoovy that spreads the sound. That's also a killer product, which gives you options, especially in an outdoor situation. Because I always say that the D-Flex is something that helped me a lot when it's critical. And in a critical situation, you have the only thing you can change is the placement of your cabinet, and that's it. If you have your cabinet, it's your cabinet. You don't have other choices. It's like so. And I usually put my cabinet inwards to the stage, so the front of house engineer is hopefully not yelling too fast. You are too loud. I'm always getting this compliment. It's not a compliment. And they always come to me, can you please turn down? And I tell them, I play hundreds of gigs. I'm just honest. This is my volume. I'm not getting any louder, which is true because I can't. No, I don't do it. I just know I'm honest at the sound check. It's not like you go there and do play on two. It's like everything is nice and smooth and the sound goes, you're a friend. And then when the first song starts, the drummer has twice the volume, and you go and you increase the volume, and you increase it another time, and no, I start where I usually play my gig, and I know it. For me, it's 5, sometimes 6, maximum 7, and sometimes less when I have to. There's a good example. We have a picture of that when I played with the orchestra, because amp 1 on 7, look at these beautiful little violins, pretty close to the guitar player. If I play on 7, the orchestra disappears. And this is why sometimes I have to play at lower volume, which in that case was maybe 3.5 or 4. And the picture is taken from the DVD. The sound is still good, I believe.
What have you got for monitors there?
Well, this is all the monitors that the PA guys have. Well, the monitor situation with an orchestra is also kind of interesting, because like a huge orchestra like this, 80-piece orchestra, I'm close to the high strings. Here in this picture you can see, but on the other side, like the double bass and the percussion is like on the other side of the stage, and these people are so far away from me that I need to have a monitor. And I even had gigs with orchestra which were totally weird, where the drummer was kind of behind the whole orchestra, which I don't like. And then I was listening to the drums through my monitor, because they put the guy behind plexiglass and pretty much in a separate room. So the orchestra felt right. But this one, as you can see, it's just a little bit, there was the plexiglass behind the drums to shield the sound towards the orchestra from the drums. No? In the right-hand corner you can see the little blue sparkle drum of Wolf Simon. This picture is kind of interesting, because I actually prepare differently from playing such a concert, like a big one, very important gig, from from when I play my 3-piece Rock Anarchy. When I play Rock Anarchy, I don't care if I have new strings. I don't care if I break a string. But on a gig like that, I put in on new strings like 2 days before the concert. I stretch them, I play them to make sure I have the best tuning stability and the sweet spot of the strings there. And of course, at a gig like that, I also prepare things like having a set list, maybe some notation, but in that case, I don't like notation because then you look at the paper and you're not feeling the music as much, because it's more like reading, and I'm not a good reader anyhow. Forget it. But it's okay. Sometimes I have some notation with me because if I don't know the songs right, and but for such a gig, I would definitely prepare well. The set list would be needed, especially when I make announcements and it's like, oh, what's next? This is stupid. I mean, you have 80 people on stage and a lot more on the other side, and then it's like, oh, you look to the conductor and it's like, are we playing? No, I mean, you have to know what the show is. But Rock Anarchy means nothing. I don't even have a set list. Sometimes I put some old set list there, and it's just like I put songs there that we could play, and while playing, I look at the list and think, that's a good one now to jam. And then we do a lot of mashups. That I love it. That's my thing with this band.
Yeah. But of course, at a bigger festival with 10 bands on, you're in a tightly regimented time slot. You'll have your 30 minutes or whatever, and then you're off.
Yeah. Okay. To play, you have your 30 minutes or whatever, 45, sometimes an hour, but then you're off. And here's the thing: you should be no problem to anybody on that festival. So, what would I bring? And that's kind of important. If you look at the evolution of my stage rig. Wait a minute. I found these good old pictures from, I think this was Berlin. Anyone, can we see? This was, maybe somebody knows where that is. So you can see this is the picture. This is me, and this is the good old plastic rain protection for the monitors. And these were the days where I even didn't have a pedal board. This was pre-pedal board, and here you can see a half-stack tri-amp. So on top of that, I had maybe a delay pedal, and then this was my switcher. I think I have a picture that shows it closer.
This, by the way, guys, is what we used to do before iPhones existed. We took photos, and put them in folders like this. It was such a fun time.
Yeah. So maybe we can see here. This was my rig. Univibe. Oops, reflection. This way. This is a Rockton 15 buttons all access MIDI switcher. This is my wah-wah pedal. And this is my homemade treble booster, like a Range Master. So, and then I used cables that went to the amp. Maybe I had a tuner. I think there's a tuner. See, there's a tuner. And that might be some leftover of the set list. I don't know. But anyway, so this is how I started. I had this in the back, and then I came to the next level, which was, I show you my first snake. So we call that snake because it's a mess. And here you can see there is the MIDI out for the switching of the amp. MIDI out. Rocktron, yeah, this was done for this. And then there was a cable that was used, wait a minute, where's the end? Oh no, this is, where's the end? Yeah, one is the cable for the guitar. So, I would say high quality guitar cable. And this is box. What did I do with this? Let me see. As you can see, it was labeled. Nobody can read it after all these years. Too long ago. Well, maybe it was another switching thing too long ago. But what I've done is I simply used here, what is it called, insulation tape or something, and made it like this. So first generation, not so professional. Okay, next generation, when they told me you can't come with a bag and your pedals in the bag and patch cables and that kind of snake, I made something more professional, which looks like this. And there is like what do you call this, like fiber, or I don't know, no, was this a Schlauch, hose?
Yeah, Schlauch is like tube as well.
Tube,
But like,
yeah.
there is a word for it, but I've forgotten it.
Yeah, it's a very flexible thing. It's better than the
Tape.
than the tape, So that makes the whole thing a lot easier because it's not messy anymore. And then there's like different colors, and there's my MIDI switching cable, there's my signal cable, and I think the other one was another switching from the amp. I had several things there. This was my old Snake number 2. And back in those days, can you give me my my beautiful case that I used? yeah. We had, back in the days, we had heavy stuff. So this was end of the 90s, 97. And this was the top of my pedalboard case. And the weight just of the top is the same of like my whole rig now. And what I had here inside this is my secret compartment. And this secret compartment, wait a minute, there is a locking thing. So this was used for extra cables replacements, because if your MIDI cable, which is that long that I needed, all the whatever 6-8 meters on stage to connect my MIDI switcher to my tri-amp, was hit by high-heeled shoes, which means the end of MIDI. It was hard to find an 8-meter MIDI cable. And by the way, I had spare tubes in there as well. A set for the power amp tubes, a few preamp tubes, and a few more things. Anyway, so this was the professional way from last century. Yeah. And then when you look at my current pedal board, which is the one that we just recently took on a picture for the announcement of the live stream. This whole entire pedal board is so lightweight. I choose it's not even wood, it's kind of a plastic, plastic that is, it's very strong, but super lightweight. It's a plastic like a carton box, with a special inner structure. So the top I can lift with 2 fingers, and the rest of the pedal board holds my amp 1, my remote, my wah-wah. I still play the same wah-wah, my replex, my what else is on there? A DD2, all the gear that I have. And what also came out being very, very handy is having all my cables always simply on top of that pedal board. So I know I'm safe. I have a power cord, I have a guitar lead, I have a long speaker lead. So if I have a super, super, super important gig, I have spare for each. A spare guitar lead, a spare speaker lead, power leads, it's mains you can find. But bring your own power lead, because sometimes you come somewhere and the only thing that's missing is that one cable. So be self-contained.
Yeah, and make lists in advance of
Yeah.
everything that you need to take, and take spares as well,
Yeah.
because you just never know.
Exactly. And of course it depends on how important the gigs are, and then I have like two levels. One is anarchy level. If the string breaks, there's a drum solo and I'm happy because I can listen to the drums and I can do fun with it, and it's part of anarchy. But if I do a proper thing with the orchestra, everything is there. There's even a spare guitar in tune. Sometimes when I play rock anarchy, I only have one guitar with me. And once I was even so loose, I was driving to the gig and then I found out I forgot my guitar because I was visiting my sister and I was close to the gig. So I asked somebody else what guitars are at the festival, and I could even do it with another guitar once. So yeah, but if you do a proper show for some very important concert, then I have my two best guitars perfectly maintenance job done for you. Even sometimes I spray my potentiometers. You know my Strat because there's so many recordings with it, and it's not scratching all the time. So I do that once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stratocaster says, I had my first gig with the Amp 1 last Saturday. It was great.
Okay, good.
The first non-all tube amp that satisfies my demands and more. And Denny says he also had his first gig with Amp 1 last week.
Hey, this is very nice to have new people here because, I love, all the people that we see kind of every live stream. But one thing, I have to tell you the story because this is also funny. Everybody knows Thomann. Thomann is a big music store, maybe the biggest on the planet. And Benji is, I just tell you the story. Benji is the guitar department sales guy for decades. I know him 20 years back and so. And he's a super smart and super nice guy, always like, yeah, an Amp 1. And then he just recently, like, I think it was like recently, like a few months back or maybe half a year, had the Amp 1 taken from the shop, brought it to a gig instead of his boutique 5,000 whatever euros tube amp to play whatever, a wedding, something not so important. And then he said, fuck, he bought the amp. I mean, he works in the store. He bought the amp, and now he wants the second one because he wants a pedal board with the original Amp 1, the silver edition, and now he wants one with the Mercury edition. And he said he feels ashamed. This was his words, that he didn't really took the Amp 1 serious for so many years. Because he knew it from the very first day. He knew me, he liked everything. But for him personally, it was like, I cannot play an Amp 1. It's like, and now it's like, if somebody asks him in the shop, what do you think about Amp 1? It's like, I play all of my gigs with it. So that's, it takes a long time for people to realize that this little Amp 1 and what we are doing is serious stuff.
It's a serious festival amp, and we have a comment from Alex Surridge who says, hey guys, I'm playing Wacken this year with my Iridium edition. Can't wait.
Cool, yeah. There's the other day I saw the picture in I think it was in Sweden, a festival. This was really killing me. It's like they had a huge stage, and there was British Lions, which is the band of Iron Maiden's bass player.
Steve Harris.
Steve Harris, I always forget his name. Yeah, but he's so ambitious to play music that when Iron Maiden is not playing, he has this other band.
Yeah.
And they have like 5 amp-1s on stage. And then they met Killing Joke, and Killing Joke had another 2 amp-1s on stage. And then there was the third band also with amp-1. So the full festival, whatever, half a day was only amp-1s because they were all flying in from the UK.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, interesting. So everybody amp-1.
Yeah, and we've also had endorsers like Rish Gabrielchik doing gigs, fly gigs, and Oiga Valoverta has been gigging with amp-1 as well on festivals.
And by the way, Alex Byro too. And we will have a little story with Alex. Maybe in a minute. Okay, let me finish a little thing here. Back to the situation when you come to the outdoor festival. The next question that I have is like, if you are having your backline, which means as the guitar player, you bring your guitar, you have your pedals, whatever you need. Maybe you bring your amp, maybe you have an amp-1 pedal board and you just need the speaker, or you go direct, or you go both. Like you have a real guitar speaker and you go direct. The question for me is now, do you want that guitar on the monitor? I taught myself not to. And I tell you why. Because monitor speakers can be very, very different. Sometimes you have the highest quality monitor speakers on stage and it's like killer tone. I can live with it. But it's like next time there is some horn that has a... And I can't do my thing with that shitty noise all night. And so I found I like to have a proper old school guitar speaker giving me my guitar tone. That's my monitor. So, and the thing about in having my sound in the monitors, I skipped that. And I even came to the point where I'm not asking for drums anymore and anything. So if there's a monitor there, I usually just have my own vocals for backing vocals. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a good singer. I call my singing intonation-free interpretations of whatever. So put my voice a little down.
You're a jazz singer, huh?
Of course, yeah. I can see flat 9 and sharp 11 and Mixolydian sharp 11 is my major scale. If you know what I mean. If I hear myself, I can do the job. If I don't hear myself, some things are still okay, but others I just put my vocals down and see if they're usable. Okay, back to the monitor situation. If there's a good monitor, I want my voice on the monitor, but not the guitar, not needed. And not all the other stuff. Why? Because the sound check for me is 3 seconds. Guitar, I do myself, and the rest is louder, thank you. Done. That's all. And that gives the rest of the band, where there's really critical, for the singer, for instance, they have more time to give him the best possible monitor sound. I mean, there's singers like David Reedman. He can sing even without a monitor. He is loud and hears his voice, whatever. I mean, he is kind of that kind of singer that is unbelievable. But that's an exception. Most of the other singers should have a good monitor to do a good performance.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you take too much time, you take that time away from the main singer. And that's so important that the main singer has all the attention, because for people, the ordinary audience, the singer is the music. You are just the guitar whittler.
Yep, That's the sad reality of our existence. But at least we're not bass players. Quick poll, guys. If you're playing at your dream festival and you have the chance, would you do it like Thomas? Would you like to have a guitar cabinet on stage for your sound? Would you like a standard stage monitor? Or would you prefer to use in-ears? Let us know in the comments. We're really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I love this. And I think there is always a good way for all this kind of technology. None of this technologies is bad. I just believe you have to know when it's the best situation to use it. You know, I'm not saying the only way is blah, blah, blah. No. It's just my experience, how I deal it with the music that I do with my bands. And maybe you think about it, but maybe you do something completely different. Fair enough. And you have whatever, your in-ear system, and you are totally self-contained because you're direct out of the blue box goes with your vocals, and this is all on your pedal board. It's worked out, you plug it in, and you're ready to go and give the guy, you know, that's another way. If I would be a singer guitar player, I would give a solution to a problem. That's what I learned. Don't be a problem, be the solution.
Make it easier for everybody else. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hans Eibel says next Saturday he's also playing his first gig with Amp 1, also using a Line 6 HX effects. Everything is set up already, and he's looking forward to this new experience.
Yeah, I mean, a new amp, whatever brand it is, whatever model it is, it's always a little bit a challenge. It's like if you buy a new pair of shoes, you know, stuff that you are new to, that you have to get used to. Maybe, I don't know where you're coming from, it's like, wow, first thing, or maybe it's like, I need a little bit more of that. And there's tons of options on the Amp 1 to get that. We have so many different players playing Amp 1, and they all found their settings in the end. Just make sure, this is a general advice, don't in the live situation have the middle at 5 and more, not less, because guitar with no mids doesn't cut through.
Yep, you'll disappear.
Yeah, you will simply disappear. So if you're the bedroom player with no mids at home, don't do that on stage. It simply doesn't work. Has nothing to do with us or our brand. It's a general thing. But you know, if you don't hear yourself next week and you are missing something, try to increase it only by 1 or 2 numbers on the Amp 1, and you will go, wow, it's there. These tone controls are pretty effective, especially when it comes to mids and treble.
Yes, and actually, if you want to read a bit more about that, I do remember that there is a pretty decent article in the manual for the Amp 1 Mercury edition.
Yeah.
So I remember doing the English version for it, where you explain a lot about, you know, getting the good guitar sound in the band, also in a live context, and mid frequencies are so important.
I had this little drawing of the frequency range in the spectrum, and where's the bass drum, where's the bass, and of course that can be slightly different, but you get a picture that how it works in general, and you have to find your spot, and that's so important. And the amp and the cabinet is so important because it's part of the band tone, and this is why people get nerdy. I totally understand that. I'm a nerd myself because of that, because I want to have my tone, and then I want to have my tone also working in different bands. If I have my killer tone that only works with like my 3-piece, it's a challenge to have still my tone in a different setting with more players. But this is, it's a long journey. But once you found it, it's so rewarding. But this is part of the instrument. It's when you play the electric guitar, tone, tone is in the fingers, yes. It's in your brain because you have a vision of how you would like to sound. But you have to spend, and this is why we're all watching and why we are doing this, Academy of Tone, find and experiment with the settings, because in the end, there is some potential. If you find the full potential and you are emotionally connected with your guitar, which means what you do with the strings, with your bends, and if the whole circle is kind of closed, and you have that feedback loop with the instrument, this is where the electric guitar becomes magic. I mean, look at Jimi Hendrix. And I mean, this becomes one, and this is the magic of electric guitar to me.
Yeah, a few answers coming into our little impromptu questionnaire. Stratocaster says real cabs only. The oomph is part of rock and roll.
Yeah,
Yeah, you would agree with that, wouldn't you?
I would totally agree, and this is why I always put my cabinets on the floor, because if the cabinet is on the floor, you have more bass because of the bass coupling, and if I need more mids, I use a deflex. That's the thing that spreads out the mids, and yeah, that's my solution for that. But it's not, put it on the floor first. With rock and roll with no bass, AC/DC with no low end is not AC/DC.
Nope. Denny says guitar cab. Someone else says in-ears.
Yeah.
Hihechi says just using amp 1. My guitar is green. Guitar cab, no in-ears. Lucas, our cameraman, says please take pictures from the stage with the amp 1, and we agree.
Yeah.
More pictures is great for us, so please send us your pictures.
Yeah, and it's great also to share them for you other guys. I think, the good thing about our community here on the live stream and on Facebook is that we can share our knowledge. It's like somebody does something and he can give you a feedback on, try this out, because it worked so well with me, and and we can even learn. I mean, I'm just sending out my experience and stuff like that, but it's so great that other people respond to it and bring their experience. Killer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sean Athens is in the chat. He says most of the time in-ears with the blue box. That's a different one. Robert says only amp 1 with a fat cab and a nano cab together, presumably.
By the way, comment here. I personally believe that the combination of fat cab and nano cab is killer, because the speakers are slightly differently voiced and they really match, they complement each other in a nice way. I like it.
Yep. Manuel Kettenring is in the chat as well.
Manuel.
And Manuel says in-ear but only in stereo.
Yeah,
of course.
Sure. Yeah. But Manuel, he knows what he's doing, and he has a killer setup, and he does spend the amount of time to get his setup and his in-ear monitoring to be killer. And this is, he's been here, and yeah, it's very convincing. So no worries.
Yep. Mario Stracuzzi, I always use my blue box for front of house, cab for stage monitoring in my 3-piece combo.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. And Robert Price says guitar cab with vocals through the monitors. So
yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, a bunch of different options there. Helmut says, is the blue box available again? There have been shortages lately.
Yes, the situation is like that. Blue box has like 2 chips, and both kind of discontinued and whatnot. But we were able to kind of source little leftovers here and there, and we have a unfortunately final production run, unless we find more. But it took us 2 years to find kind of some leftovers to make a run of blue boxes again, and we had to pay so much money for that stupid chips that we are only selling direct. This is, sorry, I feel very sad for the dealers, but it's like we don't make any money on that. It burns money if we only, if you want a blue box, send us an email to sales@bluguitar.com or Verkauf for the Germans at BluGuitar, no matter. And we can put you on that list for the last run, which is coming in a few weeks, hopefully. They are in production right now. So it's coming. But this will be the end of the blue box, unfortunately. Woo! Yeah.
Will there be another one coming afterwards? Can we talk about that at all?
Yeah, well, of course, I have plans for a follow-up, and this will, of course, then use different chips. but I'm not going into the details yet because I have some rough ideas. But let's see. We have a big project first, MX. Yeah,
That is a project.
yeah.
Okay, back to the festival then. We've arrived. You've set your gear up in a way where you've
Feel
you've kind
comfortable.
of you've got a big stage, but you've made yourself nice and small, so you've still got that kind of connection with the band members, and you're not getting lost on other sides of the stage.
And you should ask the band members if they can hear you. Classic thing is you set your guitar amp up is cool, and then the drummer says, "I need that guitar in the monitor." Sometimes I just move my cabinet 1 meter like behind the drummer, and I'm very happy. And he is totally happy not needing that guitar in the monitor.
Yeah.
I noticed that simplifies the whole thing and the risk, because maybe the guy on the mixing console turns the monitor knob and then the guitar is gone and the drummer plays whatever he has as information, which is then a wishy-washy guitar. But if it's audible for him naturally because it's present in his area next to the drum stool, that thing can't go wrong. So I always try to be as old school as possible, and then if somebody wants that additionally, fair enough. But I try to soften. And I asked the singer, can you live with the guitar? Is it too loud? I know I'm too loud. That's the usual. But then I kind of move the cabinet a little bit, angle it a different direction, just a touch. And the singer is totally happy because he's not in the beam anymore, stuff like that. And the same thing, like, if there's a bass player on the other side. So I face the cabinet a lot inwards to the stage, not directly to the audience.
Yeah. Okay, so you're in there, you've
Yeah.
got yourself set up on stage, you've remembered to bring everything with you, your cable snakes, your spare tubes, your spare strings, leads, all that kind of stuff.
Plectrums.
Plectrums, of course. What's next on your list, or is that basically everything you need?
Well, if I know my gear is working, I can. I have to think about what's my job here. Of course, I do this before I go to the gig. What's my role? Am I the leader, or am I just the guitar player that supports the band? And then I try to connect with all the other musicians, because when you're not there, like mentally, because you are so busy with your gear, there is nothing going on with communication, verbal, non-verbal on stage, which is so important for the band. I have seen situations where people were kind of living in their own world, and there was like musicians, but they didn't talk. And this is not what I think the music should be. Should be a lot of communication within the band and with the audience. That's the ideal thing for me.
And when it comes to the pre-preparation for you and with kind of festival projects, stuff like the orchestra, how are the rehearsals different? And also, what do you do differently with your rig, and what do you do differently with your amp settings when it comes to playing outdoor festivals as opposed to indoor gigs?
I definitely use the same gear that is going to be used at the gig. So even if I have a totally different situation for the rehearsal, because I have to go to the orchestra, to their rehearsal room, and they put you in that corner because there's 80 people and this is their home, and there's the timpani and there's the trombone and there's all the strings, and they usually don't have a guitar player. So where can I set up myself? Okay, who is important? Well, the conductor is important. So I usually go next to the conductor, and especially if I'm the soloist. But I have to be aware of that I have to find a level that works with the orchestra volume-wise, also like communication-wise. I need to have sight because the conductor is behind you. It's not like your standard rock singer, which is next to you or in front of you. You know, the guitar player is usually 2 meters behind. It's kind of the singer. The singer is the front man. And so this kind of things need to be done. But when I have a very important gig coming, I make sure that my instruments are checked. I check them myself. Then I know what's going on. I look at the typical critical things. Is there anything rattling? Is the setup cool? Are the pots scratchy? Are the switches okay? Is everything tight and reliable? For me, I personally always tend to use my pedal board, which means my amp and my pedals, and my guitar. So that's me and my speaker also. And then, of course, I like to have that working in the situation, which means I'm bringing sometimes more speaker, like 2, if it's really big. But that's about it. And the rest stays the same. When you see me gig, it's like he always brings his 61 Strat, this one, boop, and I have a spare guitar. Usually it's a vintage, my Hendrix guitar. I think we have a picture of that for my Hendrix festival thing. No, there I play my white 61 Strat. But I wear my Hendrix shirt and. So these 2 guitars, and I put both in one gig bag without anything in between, so my Strat becomes super heavy relic. Mm-hmm. But the way it works, you can simply put 2 Strats back on back, so the only thing that that touches is the back plate of the 2 guitars, and the rest is distant from another. So,
do you realize how upset all the vintage guitar people would be if they found out what you're doing every day? And if they found out, for example, how you got your new 67 Telecaster back to Germany from the USA?
Well,
they'd be so upset.
Yeah, maybe they are upset, but I'm practical and I know what is really good and what is bad for an instrument. And taking off the neck is not a crime if you know what you're doing. Yeah. Sorry. So we have one thing which is very important when you go on a festival, which is so important. You have to stay calm. So sometimes I just go somewhere and relax. Well, this was not exactly at a festival, but this was in Sydney. Maybe somebody knows that stairs. It's really exists. Somebody put the Thomas there, but I think mental preparation is half of the gig. If I have a weird feeling going on stage, it will not be a great gig, and I feel responsible for making great gigs, and therefore I spend some time mentally to focus. It can happen with a nice talk with a nice person. Sometimes it happens that I need to be just by myself in the backstage or maybe on the toilet just for a minute, just to think about, hey guys, wow, what's going on? And then I close my eyes and I think about what's going on tonight. And then the funny thing is when I can dream things, and that happens. It's subconscious. It's my brain is loaded with things that then later become real.
All I would say is you're a very brave man to do that at a festival toilet.
Well, there are special toilets for the artists.
That is true. Yeah, backstage is different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everyone has their own way of doing it. I mean, on festivals, it's so chaotic and so different that often you don't have time to think about it. But again, it's in the pre-preparation, isn't it? Knowing that you've brought everything that you need, having done the right rehearsals, being sort of confident in your rig.
Yeah.
If you have an amp one, for example, you know
Yeah.
that you're going to get the sound that you have at every other gig at the festival.
Yeah, and the whole thing starts even with the travel to the gig. I mean, if you drive to a gig, in the old days, I used to have like a car and had 5 people in the car, and then we had talks forever. Now I have my small convertible, which means I have maybe one guy, and then I can have a very nice conversation about things, and it's not like party already and you are exhausted when you arrive at a gig because everybody laughs and screams and which is another nice energy, but I kind of saved that for later. But in like a 5-hour or 3-hour drive to the gig, and the whole party feeling is, if you partied for 3 hours on the way to the gig already, there's no energy left for the gig itself. So that's something. Yeah. I think we have a few more pictures. Just throw them in, because this is Püttling. This is something I play a lot of times. This was earlier this year. You can see me wear the shorts for sound check, and then the proper jeans. Well, I didn't change the t-shirt, which is a classic for me. And my pedalboard. As you can see, it's always the same pedalboard. No matter if orchestra or 3-piece or with extra vocalists, it's always the same. And there's one thing I have done on my wah-wah, because my guitar cable has come off the wah-wah socket once. Because, there's many female singers, for instance, like Sabrina, but it wasn't her, it was some other female singer, steps on your cable doing the dance, and then it's unplugged, In the 3-piece band, there's not much left. So therefore, I exchanged the input socket of my wah, which is kind of where my long cable goes to one that is with a locking. Oh, we're getting spam in the chat.
Wow, we've made it. If we're getting spam, it means that enough people are watching to make it
really
worthwhile spamming. So
yeah,
congrats to us, I guess.
Love to cheap fuck.
Then we're in.
Unbelievable. What the crap is that?
But yeah, so just back to your wah. Have we got a close-up image of what you've done to that?
On the car, the one that we showed before. Do we have the picture with, like, for the announcement? We can see it. Can you see it on the this bright red wah with? No, I don't have it here. But it has a red little switch that locks the cable. That's the one. Well, if you look close, you can see it.
Yeah. There were just a couple of questions that I wanted to ask.
Yes, please.
Lucas, could you remove the image and scroll back up a tiny bit? Yeah. The first one was from Hans, who says, for my gigs, I have the choice of a 4x12 Park with blackback speakers, or a Vox 1x12 with a greenback, 25 watts at 16 ohms. Which one would you recommend for a smaller gig? Will the 1x12 be sufficient?
Okay, the 1x12 is a greenback with 25 watts. I played a lot of gigs with a single greenback because I love greenbacks, but I killed some of them. I have a recone kit. If you kill your greenback, let me know. I can give you the recone kit. It's a good one. And by the way, Tim Pierce is a fan of reconed old speakers because they have best of both worlds. The magnets are worn out and the membrane is a little fresher. So anyway, I have one of those.
That's the pro secret.
Yeah, that's the super pro secret. But here's the point. You should check out that little speaker. I would play the 112 if you go indoors in like blues club with whatever 100 people. That's sufficient. For me, what I've done, I've done this 100 times with a single greenback.
Okay.
But if you go on a big festival stage, a greenback is on the edge of being destroyed. And when it comes to the amp 1, in case you play an amp 1 master at middle position 5 is the end for a greenback. Don't go any further because that will kill the greenback. You can go in half power mode, but that's still too much for a greenback. Our speakers handle a bit more. So, okay.
Yeah, Made Karate also and wrote a question. It's in German, so I'm just going to translate it quickly. He says, or she says, whatever you are, I have the BluGuitar Iridium. I generally use it with the speaker out, and I go into a 2x12 Engel cabinet. It sounds super.
Yeah.
But when I connect the recording out at the same time, it changes the sound at the speaker out. Why is that? It would be cool if both of these outputs were independent and didn't influence each other. Or am I doing something wrong?
Okay, there is something happening. Let me explain. If you use that Engel speaker on the Iridium, that Engel speaker will sound always the same because you plug it in and there's your sound. When you use when you use the recording out on the Iridium, the recording out is after the power amp stage, which means it's kind of directly at the speaker. And the Iridium has a very sensitive current feedback design that gives you this extra oomph for Iridium, you know, the nice tight low end that feels so nice and spongy. And that interaction of the speaker is also audible in the recording out, and that changes when you plug in the speaker. I personally prefer that. So maybe if you have a setting optimized for Iridium not using a speaker, use the recording out, you should revisit maybe your EQing. Maybe you have done something to it, or maybe you should do something with it. But it is more alive when you use a speaker because this interaction comes into play. And that's beautiful. And I would recommend that you use the speaker and the recording out at the same time. Listen only to the recording out and make sure that sounds the way you like it. Mm-hmm. One thing is the volume of the recording out and the volume of the speaker out is connected, but this is the same if you had a microphone in front of a standard guitar cabinet.
Yeah.
So that's, some people complain about that. If you make the guitar louder for yourself, it's also louder on the PA. Well, this is why my sound check is the true volume from the end of the show, from the last show. And this is where I start, and I don't go any higher than.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so hopefully answers that question.
Yes.
Just going back to the photos that we just looked at, we're at the stage now where you're playing the festival gig, but now there are other things that you can't control, and one of those, which I've noticed in the photographs, is the weather. That's always a factor when it comes to playing outdoor shows.
Yeah. The weather is a bitch. I mean, when you look at this photo, you can see it was sunny, it was warm and hot, but you can see the clouds already coming in. And I remember that gig, I think this was last year, in the Deutsch-Französischen Garten, which is a park here in Saarbrücken, my hometown. I played with the Hendrix band, Blue Plays Hendrix, and when we finished the gig, it started to rain, and the band after us could not even do a gig. They had to leave because it was kind of, I would even say like super heavy rain and wind. I mean, this is global warming at its best. So water, to me, is the big thing. So if you have your pedal board at the edge of the stage, like in front, so you are close to the audience, which you like, when it starts to rain, get some plastic to cover it, get it more inwards the stage, go away from, and when there's wind, you have no chance. Sometimes it's when the rain comes 90 degrees towards you, hey, you can move with your pedalboard behind the stage, move it back in the trunk of your car and go home. This is actually what we've done. We finished our gig. It was, we had the fantastic timing, but I felt so sad for the band after us because they came all the way from Cologne and they couldn't play because the stage was flooded.
Yeah.
And that can also be dangerous. So,
well, I actually think that was it maybe 2 years ago, maybe just before COVID, there was the Rock am Ring Festival in Germany, I think it was. One of the biggest ones, 50, 60, 100,000 people, whatever it is. And there were storms there, right? There was lightning striking close to the ground or something, and they had to cancel days of that festival because of the weather. So, it's not just regional or national festivals, but also international stuff too.
Yeah, and there's things, nature can be so heavy that you can't do anything. I remember one little short story which was funny, playing a gig, and it started to rain, and this tent had a special construction, and you could see, like, on the roof, there was a bubble of water filling it up, getting bigger and bigger. It was kind of like, at the end, we were kind of playing under a lake, so there was literally thousands of liters of water there. And guess what? It came down to the drummer. Good shower. But this was the end of it. Anyway, things can happen.
It can, yes.
Yeah.
Quick question from Loden, who says, what was the name of your recommended remedy for the scratchy pots you mentioned before, like 50 episodes ago?
Yeah, Dioxide 5 is one, and the other, I speak German, is from a German company called Kontaktchemie. It's a Vaseline spray. Vaseline is like a fat, liquid fat, and the Vaseline 701, I think, is the number. What I like about that is it is very, it is like protects longer. The Dioxide 5 gets the oxidation away, and then if you put a touch of that Vaseline on top of it, it kind of preserves it for a longer period. Because my Scratchy Strat pot, my volume pot, I play like every second note is my pot is on a different place. That's my style, and I kill pots like in 2 years. Always has always been like that. So I know it's like, and that combination is the best I found so far. Yeah.
Would Penny and Giles fader oil work? Says
Oh, Penny and Giles is a very high class brand for faders. I'm sure it will help. Penny and Giles, we all you have Penny and Giles faders.
Yeah, it sounds posh.
Yeah, it is.
Just from the name, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know this oil, but maybe, hey, I guess that's Vaseline. It just says Penny and Giles fader oil. And when you look at it, it is probably Vaseline because I don't think they grow their own Penny and Giles plants and press them cold like olive oils from Tuscany. No, it's something like that does the job, I'm sure. Yeah, this company is famous for making great pots.
Yeah. Any other things that have ever gone desperately wrong for you on stages at festivals that you'd like to share that might help the guys in future so they don't have the same thing happen to them?
Many. I just make a few, but we have Alex Bayreuth in an interview, and he has actually a very interesting story about Glenn Hughes and what happened to him on a festival. And this, stay tuned for that one. This interview is coming like right now or next. For my side, I have seen so many things. There is something like make sure your connections are good, like the power cables are plugged in properly, all that stuff. I have seen situation where the voltage drops and the digital gear switch to clean channel with chorus in the middle of your solo. I have been on stages where the power just went off and drums only. And hey, the drummer can make finally his drum solo. He has to work a little harder, but it's okay. And then eventually some guys jumping around and getting stuff work again, fuses blowing back in, and then there's some rumbly guitar, and it can be fun. I mean, anything that happens should be you should deal with it in a positive way. And if nothing can be done, then shit happens. That's possible. Yeah. Do we have one more picture that I didn't talk about? I gave Lucas so many pictures today.
Just before we finish that, I just want to go back to the
Yeah.
German question that we
Yeah.
had a few minutes ago.
Okay, but I know what I talk about this picture. Yeah.
And maybe you want to give a quick answer in German, just in case
Yeah.
Meg Karate did or didn't understand it correctly.
Yeah.
But they say they're very happy with the amp, so that's cool. Hope they've understood everything. And when using both, just play around a bit with the EQs to try and make it better.
Ja,
Have they understood that correctly?
Ja, ich muss also im Dualbetrieb ein wenig nach-equalizern. This is a non-German word, but I totally understand it. Richtig, yeah. Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. When you plug the speaker in and use the recording out, the speaker affects the frequency curve and the interaction in a nice way, but it requires to adjust the EQ towards that change thing. We actually do it a little bit inside the Iridium already, but that effect depends on the cabinet. We don't know every cabinet being used with the Iridium, and therefore you have to readjust your equalizer in the Dualbetrieb. Also musst du im Dualbetrieb ein wenig nach-equalizern. Very nice German invention. So, and now back to the picture that I found here. By the way, this is David Reedman, the singer I was talking in between me and Vitek. Vitek is the other guitar player. So when you go on festivals, be prepared that it should be, or that there could be a jam with like the two main acts. Like, you know, it's always nice for the audience if they see several bands, and then if it's like a rock thing, we share the same singer, and we make a nice final little set or one song with your dear colleagues, and that's. So maybe be prepared to have some easy songs at hand that everybody can join in, because it's such a nice gesture to the audience, and this, and it's fun too. It's fun. I always find it very it is kind of the peak of the evening for the audience, because it sums up the whole event, and the last minutes that people see of a concert are the ones that stay in their memory the most.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
In between was something. Yeah. So I think we have that interview. We have other things as well prepared, but I think time-wise we are actually running out of time. And for those who don't know what the future is going to be, of course, AmpX is my new hobby, to work on this thing day and night. And it is then, less patch cables, less power adapters to care. It will reduce my gear. And that's, But another thing is, if you have an AMP1, and if you have made the experience, like we had some people here on the chat before, that AMP1 makes your life so much easier versus a heavy tube amp. I'm not saying heavy amps are not good. No, they are good because this is why I bought them all. But gigging with such an amp is so much more fun. And as we all know, you're not missing anything. This is, it is possible now. And if you do take care a little bit about the stuff that you use with the amp one, that's all. I have one picture where I played an amp one even without anything. That's also something you have to know. See, this is my rig when I was playing at the Cheesecake Factory in Anaheim.
Yeah, at the Anaheim Garden Walk Center.
Yeah.
With Ronnie Lee.
Yeah.
The All-Star Pre-NAMM Show Jam.
Yeah.
Yep.
And see, I put my master on 5. I have my usual settings, and I didn't do anything different from what I usually do. I just had that amp one with me, plugged it in. It was even going straight into the PA, just like we talked about with the Iridium, to the front of house guy. And the guy did the sound check when my speaker was connected, because this was the way I was playing. So make sure that at the sound check you present the gear as it will be used on the show.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Mercury, the speaker also affects the recording out, but not as much as with the Iridium. The Iridium has a lot of interaction with the speaker. Different amps, not only by color, also by design. Okay, so how shall we do it? Shall we say Alex is doing the interview as the outro, or shall we come back? I mean,
How long is the interview? That's my question.
20 minutes, I think.
Let's do everything and sign off with Alex. So
okay.
So
here's the chance for you guys for the last question to us live.
Real questions, please, not spam questions or invitations.
There's a lot things being planned with the Telecaster for next week. As you can see, I put on some. Listen to the sustain of that one. Aha, here come the questions. Mark, any plans to integrating toe switch on amp X to switch between wah and volume? Maybe in the MIDI 1 input. Ooh. We have a very intelligent way how to deal with pedals. So it's kind of automatic how is it, detection, tip ring, sleeve. There's 2 ways of these pedals. A extra switch. I think if we had a pedal that has that extra switch, we can do it, because we can assign an extra foot switch to anything. And of course, that could switch those 2 functions. At this point, I'm not seeing a problem there. So it could be possible. Good point. I'll have a look at that.
I think what he's also talking about is something which I've recently discovered on Line 6 on the Pod Go, which I borrowed from Line 6 recently. You can move between a volume pedal and a wah pedal on the same pedal by pushing it all the way down. So like you press all the way down with the toe, and then you can almost press it again. There's no actual physical button there, but it changes between being a volume pedal and a wah pedal. And I'm guessing maybe that's what you're asking, Marc-Antoine. Maybe not. Maybe I've got it wrong, but I think that's what he means.
I have to check that. I mean, in the end, it's about how to detect what you want.
Yeah.
If you move a pedal, the pedal creates data. And when we have data, we can do whatever we want. So if somebody has done something with that without an extra switch, we can do the same.
Yeah.
We have some clever digital engineers as well.
We do. Helmut says, that reminds me, is the X pedal going to be the standard?
The X pedal is standard. Well.
The X pedal being, I guess, the expression pedal that we've shown already.
Well, this pedal that I have shown is a pedal that is actually modified by a Zoom pedal because I like the cosmetics so much. We will have maybe we will have some of those, but I was talking to other manufacturers for pedals, and there's some beautiful Dunlop pedals that I like. There is this one, this pedal that we have in the pictures with the Amp X. I like but this is a separate item, and you are free to use whatever, and we can use any pedal.
Yeah, most standard expression pedals
Yeah.
should work with the Ampex, shouldn't they?
Yeah. I mean, we actually redesigned that socket. This is what we are doing after them. Getting everything even better and make it really work.
Okay, let's run through these questions
Yes,
quick because there's a lot of Ampex questions. Mario says, can you put a pre-EQ in front of the amp section of the Ampex and a post-EQ after it?
Well, there's a post-EQ possibility in the effects loop. The pre-EQ of the amp section would be in front of the whole amp because there is no loop option in front of the amp. But trust me, it's not needed.
Could you have one of, let's say, the overdrive pedal slot? Could you have an EQ pedal in that slot?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
could you have one afterwards as well?
Yeah.
Would that work?
There's sure. There's a boost section, so you can do that job with stuff that is coming with the amp.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's not needed. I mean yeah.
The next question is, why doesn't Ampex still have XLR, and why will the expression pedal be bought separately? And are there any plans for in-ear outputs for the Ampex?
Okay, let's start with why does AmpX have XLR? Well, XLR is microphone balanced, just like on the Blue Box. The signal that you give the guy on stage, front of house, is like, instead of using the microphone, you plug in to these two. And this guy has nothing to change. Instead of a microphone, you have a stereo XLR transformer balanced, two transformer, actually real transformer built into the AmpX output for the PA. Done. So that's the international standard, solves all problems. Be a solution. So next question in this question was,
why will the expression pedal be a separate purchase and I guess not included with the amp?
Yeah, very simple, because some people don't have need for that. Some people don't play wah, some people don't play volume. I know people coming from multi-effects, they have kind of that things, but multi-effects, talking camper, where they have separate items to do that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, some people have different requirements. Some people have feet like this, and they wouldn't be happy with our 20 centimeter as big as it can be to match our design pedal. There's even smaller pedals of 16 or 15 centimeters. But yeah, so this is up to you guys. And some people prefer different pedals. It's we might offer something. I had some ideas to make a pedal in the wing, that the wing is the pedal, stuff like that. But it's, hey, this comes later. First, let me finish the product. But it's good to talk about all that, so my brain starts working on.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to get the feedback. I mean, from me also, working on amps previously with other companies or whatever.
Yeah.
With things like this, sometimes it's also a case of, if you did have this, that would annoy more people than would miss it if it was not there.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I totally understand that you have your personal feelings and wishes about it. It's like, I want this thing to have this, and this, and I don't need that. So this is why people sometimes ask, can I get the Amp 1 with only 50 watt? Or can I get the Amp 1 with only this channel? I don't need a modern channel. I don't play modern. And then it's like, hey, this is a nice package that we believe is a nice offer to you guys. Of course, if the whole world says, Thomas, you are totally wrong. Nobody plays the modern channel on your products because it's so awful. I can think of something else, but we know that we have a lot of people loving the vintage channel. We have a lot of people loving the classic channel and even the modern channel. And on some end of our ends, I can see more modern than I ever thought.
Yeah.
When we get stuff for like repair or something, it's like I look at the settings sometimes. It's like, it's reverse engineering. Tells me a lot of the player.
Yeah, and of course, all these chats, all these comments are also super useful,
Yeah.
right? Because we get to hear what you guys want, so that's super cool. So keep the comments coming. The next final part of that question was, what about an in-ear output on the Amp-X?
In-ear, that is a whole different topic. It's the question how you do the mix. If you have only headphones out, there is headphones out that you can use on the Amp-X. It's under the flap. And there is also a line in that you could use to bring in other signals from, like drums or whatever. There is an option, but it is not the perfect designed thing where you can have a mixer with it. So depending on what you want, there is an option which is using the built-in headphones out and using the line in on that. But it's not. It is not the right thing properly. It's not to the in-ear mixer for you. So, nah, not really. So.
Mario Stracuzzi says, das wird die eierlegende Wollmilchsau. The
Yeah.
Amp-X will be the egg-laying wool-milk pig,
Yeah.
which is a
German phrase
a
for...
strange German saying.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, the Germans have a lot of pig words in their language. Schwein, which Sau.
Yeah.
Yeah. Schweinegeil, Sau heiß, Drecksau, and so on. Well, there must be some pigs in Germany.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. What else? Just a question about live stuff from Robert. Sometimes he's come into problems with electromagnetic fields on stages. How can you get around that?
Hey, that's a thing I have seen a lot. Well, a couple of things. First, it can happen that you come to a stage where the ground is shit. So, a proper amp like Amp 1 and other stuff has a ground. And the ground helps to keep the noise level down because it's kind of a shielding thing. If it's not there, so that's one thing. If you have a lot of noise, try a different power outlet. Sometimes that helps. So maybe the ground is not connected or bad connected, blah, blah, blah. But the electromagnetic noise in the old days, which is still the case in some venues, comes a lot from the dimmer packs of the lights. The dimmer packs are the worst because they're like, and then when they do the lights on full, it's okay because there is no effect of this dimmer pack radiation going on. And so the good news is more LED lights on stage eliminate that issue. Dimmer packs are not used with LEDs anymore. But now his question is, you have a single coil, or sometimes even Les Paul on stage, and there's a bus coming because the power is dirty and the electromagnetic is somewhere in the building. So what I learned is I modified my Strat to have a dummy coil because that's the only thing that can help there. You can shield the guitar. You have to make sure that your grounding is good on the guitar, because when you connect with the strings, you become the ground as well. And you protect the guitar. Then what I do is I move with the guitar and find the spot and a position where it's feasible to play. So, and of course, I kind of memorize where that was and how. When I have an issue, I know I have to look towards this angle and have the neck there. And then sometimes when you play rhythm guitar, nobody can tell because there's so much noise produced by your playing. But then when you get quieter, and then I use the volume control on the guitar a lot. I mean, anything that's not needed, I reduce on the guitar, and that's all you can do. And I'm doing all of that. On top of that, I have a noise gate in the amp, but that's not helping in this, especially when I play very low signal sensitive parts. Then you need to have the gate open, and yeah, if you don't need that sensitive playing, go to metal, and because that cuts anything when the note information is over. But yeah. Some Helmut says the German Schuko-Stecker you can turn the other way around. Yes, this is all stuff you can experiment with. You know, the power plug of your amp, just 180 degrees might help. Different power outlet I found is mostly, all that stuff that if you have a problem, think of all the options you have. Flipping the power cable is an easy one. If that doesn't help, try another power outlet. If it's possible, you know, there's light power on stage. There is audio power from the power amps, and it's different from venue to festival. So, yeah, some people have power conditioners. The good news about Amp 1 is an Amp 1 doesn't need a power conditioner because it has that kind of, I don't care what's coming in, I just deliver the right voltage and clean power to the circuitry. If you have a traditional tube amp, any shit that comes in will be transferred into shit voltage. And therefore people buy these Fuhrmann or Fuhrmann, I don't know the English sound for it, Furman maybe, power conditioners. And there's some Japanese out there that are supposed to be the cleanest cleaners for dirty power, so stuff like that.
Okay. So there we go. That's a lot of great answers, and I hope that we've given the guys plenty of tips for when it comes to playing festivals. And
if you have more questions, this is simply write comments here. I read the comments occasionally and give answers. And of course, we have the BluGuitar user group for Amp 1. We have the Dream Rig, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of shared knowledge on the Facebook, Instagram, and on our BluGuipedia website. So if there's stuff that you want to know, first check the BluGuipedia and the user groups, and if not, ask us, because we will answer that and we'll put that onto the BluGuipedia, so it can be shared with everyone, and it will last. On the BluGuipedia, it's there forever. On Facebook, it's there for a few days, and then it will disappear in the endless grounds of the internet.
Exactly, yeah. And of course, you can come back and join us next week or any other week on the Academy of Tone and ask your questions live. Next week, this guitar
Yeah.
Thomas's new telly is going to be
The
shown to the
Star.
world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good guitar. It feels great. And now we see a nice interview that I've done just before that live stream here, like in half an hour before, with Alex Beirut. Alex Beirut is, he has been here a couple of times, and Rock Meets Classic, he played with a lot of great people, and he has a story to tell. So don't miss the video that's coming now with Alex Beirut. And of course, he gives you also his insights in what to take on a festival. Okay, guys, watch Alex Beirut and see you guys next week, same time, same place. Hey, Mr. Alex Beirut here.
What's up?
Hey, cool. Yeah, I know that you have been playing many outdoor festivals and tours and whatnot. So what are you taking with you when you go on, a festival gig, or what is the stuff that you prepare and what you do on the festival stage?
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, I played festivals all over the world, and most of the time, outdoor festivals, the big festivals, they happen at the same time when there's a holiday season. So I learned the hard way to travel only with hand luggage, because your guitar won't make it in time, your luggage won't arrive. I've seen it 1,000 times, and I travel with a gig bag, and in the gig bag I have my stage clothes,
Yeah.
everything I need, and my pedal board.
Yeah.
And for festivals, I usually have a small pedal board, only like 3 effects. That's it. Everything I can carry on my body, because otherwise, especially during holiday season, you won't make it. It's impossible. So that's my first, let's say advice. And the second, I travel with the Iridium. It's right here in my studio. It's perfect. I mean, it's small, it's light, it's the perfect fly rig, if you want to call it that way. I used to play the Festival Marshall, but most of the time the Festival Marshall is damaged, doesn't work right. And so I stopped that, and I fly with the Iridium. That's perfect to me. And this is how I prepare and travel. And another thing, another advice I would like to give is, whenever you play like a festival, doesn't matter if it's a city festival, a small one, or it's fucking big Wacken open air, I always go there half hour prior to the show and introduce myself to the monitor guy, and telling him what I would like to have in my monitors, which is usually not much. I only want to have hi-hat, kick drum. That's it. No more. Hi-hat and kick drum. I don't want to have any guitar in my wedge or anything, because I hate it. And I introduce myself. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm from Primal Fear, blah, 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 blah. And they always give me a look like this. They are not used to a musician
being nice
and introduce themselves and they are nice. Those guys, they get shit the whole day from stage managers, from guitar techs, from musicians, divas, rock stars. It's the toughest job on the whole festival side, actually. So I introduce myself, and after the show, even if the sound wasn't that good, I go there and I say, thank you very much, this was great. And you get a smile from these guys, and they will remember you. This is big advice I would like to give.
Yeah, I mean, when you are on stage, the only guy that can help you or that makes you sound good is the guy at the mixing front of house. So, and if you are friends with him, well, he knows there's a guitar player that we could maybe feature a bit more because he's a nice guy, you know. That
Yeah,
helps. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And especially, I mean, the monitor guy who is in the wings of the stage. You know,
Yeah.
people, they can't see him.
Mm.
He's hidden behind some curtains or whatever.
Mm.
And those guys, they get so much shit during
Yeah.
festival from all the bands, from all the musicians, and they try their best. And I just try to be nice to them, and in return, they try to even more to give me a good stage sound.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they like you and they feature you. And there's one thing that I can add to what you just said is when I played with you, you are always the super relaxed guy when you come on stage. And this is the opposite of people that get angry, nervous, and emotional. You know, when Alex comes to a stage, there is no room for fucking bad emotions or stuff. It is a great evening or whatever concert. You have to have a good spirit, and this is what I saw when I met you or when we played something together. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, if you are stressed out, it won't help you.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally agree. So, is there anything other, especially, do you have picks in your pockets or any secrets, or you put them on the mic stand, or where do you put your picks?
Well, usually I don't lose my pick. Usually I have one pick and I don't lose it. Usually. In case I drop one, I have like 2 or 3 picks on the side on my
Okay.
speaker cabinet. Because my backline is always built up on the side of the stage.
Yeah.
Going into the stage.
Yeah.
And in this case, this is another advice. In this case, you can do your own sound.
Yeah.
You won't disturb the front of house. And
Yep.
you can crank the amp up as loud as you want because it's going sideways in the stage.
Right.
And if you are not loud enough, you just go a step back and you hear yourself very good.
Yeah.
If you are too loud and you want to hear yourself better in the mix, you just go one step forward. It's a fucking easy concept.
Yeah.
And many bands, they're doing this right now. And I'm doing this since 15 years.
Yeah, I actually do the same. That makes a lot of sense. So, on being on the stage in such a situation, there is no time for a huge sound check. Sometimes you even have only time for a line check. So they say, okay, click, click, signal is there, and then, okay, good luck, guys,
Yeah, exactly. And then you have the sound of a Boeing 747 on stage.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. So, Alex, you told me a very, very strange story or exciting, strange story. What happened in your life with the magical Mr. Glenn Hughes? So, what was this?
It's actually very sad because my gig and possible band gig with Glenn Hughes as his guitar player was destroyed by a festival crew.
Here we go. Shit happens,
Well, in I think it was in 2008, I just released my very first Voodoo Circle album.
Yeah.
And it got great critics, and then I got a phone call. The phone call every guitar player is waiting for from a management, asking me if I would like to join the Glenn Hughes band and play with him some festivals, a tour in Russia, a tour in Japan, and a tour in Australia.
Sure.
I said, hell yeah, of course. I mean, I've been waiting for this call for years, right? Glenn Hughes is one of my favorite singers in the world till this day.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
And so I said yes, and I put the band together. I asked my friend Wolf Simon or Wolf Simon, whatever you want to call him, good friend of yours too.
Yeah, on this record, Wolf Simon.
Only the best.
Only the best.
We rehearsed at Wolf's place in Essen.
Yeah.
And it was just great. Glenn was amazingly nice. And after we played the first song, Stormbringer, he said, well, Alex, I miss to hear the Strat because I played with Les Paul players for the last couple of years. And this sound is so great. And it was a great vibe and everything was just cool. Okay, I thought this is perfect. And the next day we drove down in the south of Germany to play this festival. And there was already a delay, and some of the headlining band, they wanted to change their spot with Glenn, and Glenn agreed. And so actually we were playing last, headlining. We weren't supposed to headline, but then we were headlining this big outdoor festival in front of, I don't know, 10,000 people or something.
Yeah.
Okay, to make a long story short, we had the changeover. My setup, everything was cool, everything worked fine, and then it was time to start with the show, and I could see that Wolf and also Glenn were still talking with the monitor guy and giving signs, and I went to Wolf and I asked what's going on, and he said, the in-ear is not working right, I have a strange sound, I can only hear some noise, and I don't know, and they were trying to fix it from the
front of house,
desk.
Yeah.
And it was a digital desk, and it took like 45 minutes till they found the problem. They thought. So we already had 45 minutes, and we're talking about like 10:30 in the evening. People wanted to rock, and they were waiting, and it gets colder and colder. Some people already left. Anyway, we started the show with the big Deep Purple intro.
Yeah.
Pound in Stormbringer. And I was like, oh fuck, this is great. I was the only guy without in-ear, I have to say.
Yeah.
Old school. Exactly. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
We were playing this riff and everything, and then Glenn approached me. He was playing his bass, and he looked at me like, and I was like, what's going on? Right? Everything's cool, and he was looking at me like I would play something totally wrong.
Okay.
Something is not right here. And then he went into center stage, took his bass off, smashed it on the ground, and left the stage.
Fuck, yeah.
I was like, silence.
Oh, fuck.
10,000 people, or maybe 5,000, they already left. Like, ooh.
Oh, that's
what is going on? And so I put my guitar away. I went backstage, and I said, what's going on?
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
And then Glenn, he just left into the cornfield. I'm like, what?
Wow.
What? Yeah, he was totally out of control and totally unhappy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He was very unhappy.
Pissed.
And then I asked Wolf, what's the problem, guys? And he said, Alex, in my in-ear, I hear only an echo and no dry signal. So he had only an So it was impossible for him to play. So he took them off, which makes sense. But Glenn, he had my guitar in his in-ear in a weird echo, but not the original signal.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No dry signal.
He looked at me like, what the fuck, you know? And then to fix this problem took another 45 minutes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I said, guys, can we just play without those fucking in-ears?
Yeah.
And no, okay. That's not the reason why I hate in-ears, especially on festivals.
See, I agree.
Yeah, make it easy, right?
Yeah.
And okay, after 45 minutes, there were only like 500 people in front of the stage left. We played like 4 songs.
Yeah.
And then we stopped it.
Yeah.
And it was the baddest, worst show I've ever had in my entire life. And I was
of course. you were totally devastated because of you.
I wanted to have this gig, you
Of
know.
course, I mean, with a guy like Glenn Hughes, this is heaven. I mean, you know that. Yeah.
Exactly. And I didn't do anything wrong. And
No.
then okay, the next day we drove back, and he was still really nice, and he said, "Oh guys, it's not your mistake, blah blah blah." But you know, it had a bad taste.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
bad taste.
Mm.
And 2 weeks later, I received another phone call. But the phone call was, "Oh, Alex, we're sorry, the Japan tour is canceled, Australia is canceled, Russia is canceled, because Glenn is starting a new band with Joe Bonamassa."
Yeah, the black what was the country?
The country community.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this event
has something to do with it. Yeah.
But I never received a phone call from him or the management anymore. Yeah. Which is like
very sad. Yeah.
Very
sad. Yeah, it's actually very sad, and especially for a few things. It's not your fault. Second, it is the dream gig for somebody like you. You know, I mean, you know,
yeah, exactly.
Of course. I mean, you know, this is like, and then when shit comes along, sometimes it's getting even worse. So shit comes on shit, and it is like what it is. Okay, and killing yourself is not an option. So it happens. Shit happens. You know?
What can you? But it's till this day I can't get over it.
Yeah, I know how it feels.
Yeah. I didn't do anything wrong. It's like there was your chance, you know.
Yeah, I had an experience like that in the studio only once, but you know, I did a lot of sessions in the 90s, and I was booked into the EMI studios in Cologne, and I was recording for Jennifer Rush, you know, some pop act back in the days, and the producer. I set up my gear. I was prepared, like you know, I had like my Vox AC30, my Fender amps, my tons of guitars. I was well equipped, everything perfect. I was in a good mood. I was ready to start. I played some track there with the engineer, and then the producer came in, and the producer started to be like, I'm not sure about this. I want something different. And then, okay, well, so what do you want? Yeah, it should be a little bit different, a bit more blue. Okay, then I've tried to play more blue, you know, whatever that means. Okay, you try to be nice and have all this positive energy, you know, and then, no, I think we need something different. And the guy, you know, he kind of did a shortcut in my brain, you know, it took, I was kind of stable for at least an hour, you know, giving even the shittiest feedback that he gave me. I was still kind of in a positive, my batteries were still full, you know, but of course I was fighting with it. And then like after an hour, I said, hey guys, I'm not sure what you want, because I wasn't frank, like, hey guys, you don't know what you want, you know,
fuck you.
fuck you, get your mind together. So I kind of I did it in a nice way and said, hey guys, actually, I think we should give me a little break. I have to think about what we could do here. Maybe I come up with an idea that is blah blah blah. So I left the room, and good luck, or the lucky coincidence was the sound engineer of the studio also left the studio, and he came to me and said, this guy fucks everybody up. He's having a bad day. Today you are his torture. Don't worry, you know. Okay, I knew, and he was kind of very quick, so I knew it was the unofficial message. So then I knew what to do and said, okay guys, you know, I tried my very best. It's okay, you know, blah blah blah. Maybe we try another time. And then I left. But still, you know, I wanted to do that job, and I wanted to do it properly. And it's, you know, and then in your case, it's even much bigger. It's like not a studio gig. It's like the band, you know, with one of our heroes, which is, yeah.
Exactly.
But hey, this belongs to our life as a musician.
It happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why. I mean, you can't be prepared as well as you could, but
yeah.
if the crew is not working right,
Then you
then
have no chance. You have no chance. But this is exactly my point too. I agree on keeping things as simple as possible. In-ears is good if you have a production with people that rehearse the production. So when you go, you know, on tour with a band that, you know, you rehearse everything. Everybody knows exactly what to do. But like playing a festival and in-ears, there's too many parameters that are new to the engineers, because it's not your team, it's not your gear, it's not your mixing console. How many channels do we have? How many routing options do we have? How many things can go wrong? Too many. Keep it simple. When I go on stage, I have nothing. I have no guitar as you in the monitor. I don't even give a fuck about the drums. When I want to hear the drums, I come close to the drums and listen to them. The singer, sometimes only if I sing like backing vocals to meet the pitch. But, you know, in the worst case, sometimes I even tell the guys, don't even give me a monitor. My backing vocals, just put them low and we will keep it simple. So it's like, you know, okay, if there's a monitor, give me some monitor. And but it's all about keeping things as simple as possible, because then you have more chances
to survive.
to survive. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, okay. Hey, Alex, thanks very much for the story. I think we have to tell people that you are the weekend warrior with your CD, which we talked about. For the people that don't know that CD yet, Alex has his own all instrumental CD, solo CD out, which is great. Yeah, very tasty guitar melodies and
Recorded with Iridium.
recorded with Iridium, sounds killer. No, it's actually a great CD in a way, because, you know, when I listen to the Primal Fear stuff and this shows another side of you, which is great.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of proud, because I know your background for all the decades, you know, from seeing your thing like in the distance and a little bit closer. And it's like finally you have your own voice in this most puristic way on that CD. So I can recommend it. And we had a bottle of your wine, which is still something I have to recommend too. Do you still have those, or are they sold out?
Of course, I still have them, but they are always sold out. Right now, I have only 4 bottles left.
Okay, I think
People
I have to
buy it
visit.
like crazy. I mean, people who bought it in like 2 weeks ago, they're already buying again because it tastes so good.
Yeah, it tastes. I was surprised. You know, it was okay. Super. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, Alex, thanks so much for joining in, and I'm sure we have you back, you know, for other great topics. And so, yeah, all the best. See you soon somewhere outdoor. Cheers.
Bye bye. Ciao.